Dickinson, North Dakota bronze sculptor Linda Little is a living testament to how a life-changing event can lead to something unexpected. Following a debilitating car accident in 1996, Linda went through therapy that included learning how to sculpt. 20 years later, her bronze sculptures are wonders to behold.
So I was introduced to a class that was coming up from a teacher, Valentino Korhovo, a master from Russia. And he literally took my hands once again in his and said, I will teach these to do what this cannot. When we start out in sculpting, we have to build ourselves an armature, which is generally made from metal, iron, wire. Then I take the basic form of the horse, and this is what I'm going to end up with. I'm the first step of 7. And then there are 7 subcontractors that work for myself and other bronze sculptors. And the conclusion of those steps is they will pour in the 2200 degree metal and it will take the shape of the wax. Then at the very end of that, then we base a product. And in my case, I use sometimes metal, which you've seen outside here, or the wooden walnut bases. I believe part of the reason that this interview came about is because of a head trauma that I received in 1996. And prior to sculpting, my career was in purchasing, municipal purchasing. To make a very long story short, we're traveling down I-25 to DIA Airport to pick up my son, who had visited his stepsister. And in fact, we never made it. A young man ran a red light, I was making a left-hand turn, and he broadsided us. That was life-changing. I had a family yet. I had a husband who was feeding me and did for 6 months. I had a son that was 15, and he could not figure out why his mother was the way she was, because there wasn't anything bleeding, there wasn't any bandages. All of it was internal. I found that change for me was learning a new career. There was a gentleman in Colorado who was accepting 8 students who, God bless him, accepted me as his student. And actually what has happened, it's like all professions. Once we become used to doing something, it becomes a matter of just doing it. We don't think about it. And in some cases, that's what happens now. My hands will work and my mind doesn't have to engage. I made a phone call. I understood that there was a veterans project going to happen in Dickinson, North Dakota, and said I would be interested in volunteering on the board to gather funds in the community. Would I be invited to the meeting? And she said, of course, we'd love for you to come. I came to the meeting, and it ended up that they asked me if I'd be interested in presenting design work for the project. And I said, of course I would. When I asked my husband, the highest form of respect would be a salute.
I told her that when she was talking about doing that I didn't want any part of another war memorial where they had the people kneeling down, looked like they just got lost or got their butts whipped. When she came up with this, I said, this is wonderful. You got somebody actually paying tribute to the soldiers rather than somebody sitting there looking like they've just been whipped.
I admire my husband for the fact that he has gone to Vietnam 2 tours back to back, and also was in Desert Storm for a year. That to me is a true warrior. I wanted to honor my husband, so I found photographs of him coming home from Vietnam, and I used his face in the project, and my son, I used his hands. I was contracted by 2 families here in Dickinson. They approached me and asked me if I would consider doing a TR bust, and I said absolutely yes. And I suggested perhaps a bust, and they loved the idea and gave me complete creative freedom. And halfway into the process, they reviewed it, liked it, and it was accepted. And several months later, we bronzed the project, and it now has found its home in the Dickinson Foundation. An angelic piece today, particularly this one. The Simple Touch would be one that I would, she actually is my most favorite. My husband has said that he thinks that's my masterpiece. I feel a big responsibility for, as an individual that has survived a traumatic injury, that there is something that we can do, and I'm very fortunate that I have my limbs and my hands, and I've seen incredible people work with less that have done phenomenal things. So I go on record to suggest to people that it's very important that we keep the arts alive and well. So I am truly privileged. I believe that God allowed the bump on my head so I could be who He intended me to be.
Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.